I think it's very interesting from Mr. Sudhir Krishna to Professor Mishra, both suggesting that perhaps a cadre may not be the best solution. Whether it helps or not, one does not know. D Dhanuraj is also with us. You see, Mr. Dhanuraj, let's take the example of Bengaluru, for instance. A couple of years ago, heavy rain and all the houses in low-lying areas and some extremely VIP colonies, beautiful homes, crores and crores of money spent, all of them inundated, right? Now all of this happened because lake land was used for construction. Now you tell me which cadre or what can any cadre do if something as simple as this in urban planning, that obviously if you will construct a house on a lake bed and when it rains, nature will follow its course.
Sanjay, the problem here is, I think we are so confused with the idea of urbanization. We are not so sure about how our urban local bodies should function. What are the powers? What is their capacity? What kind of roles and responsibilities they should play in the modern, urbanized world. I think having experience in JNNURM and smart city projects for the last 16, 17 years, I don't think we learn from our mistakes, or probably we are not trying to understand where the problem lies with. Whether we are giving more power to the mayors and city councils, or we are adding one more layer, even though we have commissioners and secretaries, IAS officers sitting there in all the local bodies. Do we need another cadre? Will it help in sustenance and maintenance of the cities? I don't think so. Reason is that most of the cities lack coordination, they lack power, they lack resources. And most of the times, most of the things are happening from a top-down, in a top-down approach model, meaning many things are imposed on them. Many projects are driven by the funds given by the state governments and central governments. So decisions are mostly taken at the different level, not understanding the city landscape and architecture and the history and environment of the cities. So I believe this cadre, what is proposed, is nothing to do with, it's not going to help the cities to mitigate the challenges they are facing these days. I think what we need to do is we have to strengthen, capacity. We have to enable them, empower them to tackle these issues. We are talking about livability in a city. The livability of city is, not driven by an IAS officer. It's a configuration and combination of various factors that keep changing, and we can't disconnect from the history, we can't disconnect from the local festivals, or we can't disconnect from the mobility features, we can't disconnect from the labor and land available in the city. So the problem here is that our cities don't have the systems or institutions and the strength to address this thing. We don't have the data most of the time. So think about it, we started this command and control center with smart city projects. Most of the cities that I work with, I see that the command and control system is with somebody else. The city municipal corporation doesn't have the idea what to do with the command and control center. Even if they have the access to the data they generate, they don't have the expertise, or they don't have the manpower, skilled, qualified manpower to access the data. Many of the cities, I think India requires thousands and thousands of town planners, thousands of economists to work in the city system. But the problem here is most of the state level and municipality act that came after 73rd and 74th amendment, I think we are not ready to revisit some of them. We are not given enough power to the cities as per the 73rd and 74th amendment. We have not given them enough resources to strengthen it. Most of the cities don't have the right to even recruit people, because the city force, the city manpower, they come from the state governments, or they are deputed from some other departments. In many cities, commissioners and secretaries are not ready to occupy the seats given to them because they don't think that's a very glamorous post. Right. So I think in 2047, when we celebrate this Amrit Kaal, what we need to understand is that India's growth actually lies in cities, and we are going to modernize and urbanize like anything. Probably we will be the fastest growing
and it has to be urban. It cannot be abrupt.
For
instance, many of the urban agglomerations in New Delhi, for instance, the metro towns of Noida, Gurugram, Faridabad. I mean, Dr. Bejon Mishra, you see, Pardon, Professor Mishra, pardon my extremely dark humor which I am going to share with you guys, but this is a reality. I mean, I run the risk of driving a car on a potholed road where I will encounter waterlogged drains, where I will cross a fumbling flyover. I run the risk of a bridge collapsing, and it has happened. We have seen it in Bihar. Only yesterday we saw it in Hastinapur also, the road caved in. I also run the risk of encountering electrocution from a lamppost, and when I reach home to my building, I do not, since the building has not had any structural audit, there is a risk that the floor will collapse, as it happens in Chintal Paradiso in Gurugram. So right from my journey from office to home, there is a problem each step of the way in the city.
Huge risk. You see, we are leading a life which is risk driven. You know, we must understand that we are not taken care. Our risk is never taken care. There is no accountability. There is no transparency in work. We all have to understand on our own perceptions what's going on. Nobody wants to make information public. You see, there are a number of issues which has actually culminated in this kind of a culture in the country. What we all have to understand is, you know, before you start a township, like you gave the example of Gurugram. Now, I know there are colonies in Gurugram where the builders have built the colony, but they don't have electricity for 14 hours a day. Now, what do you do to that? And how do you take care of the citizens who have invested their hard-earned money for a shelter and they are not being given energy 24/7? They don't have potable drinking water to be provided to them. They are dependent on the so-called water purifiers and all that, you know, gadgets, which again cost a lot of money to the common citizen. Now, the issue is, Sanket, is that we have to demand. I hope the recommendation has gone in that manner, because I have not had privy to that recommendation, that the bodies have to be made accountable. The municipalities or whichever is the agency which needs. We have now regulators in place, whether it's electricity, whether it's water, we have, whether it's RERA, we have all authorities which are regulatory authorities who are supposed to.
I mean, authorities are there. You will always find that some authority or the other will be there, but there will also be lots and lots of problems. And I don't think another layer of bureaucracy is really going to help, is the sense that I get after speaking to all you gentlemen. But Mr. Sudhir Krishna, quickly coming back and drawing your attention to a very recent example. For instance, in Noida, only this Sunday, a beautiful signature bridge was inaugurated, right? 6 lanes, brilliant, fabulous. It looks fantastic. You know, a hanging bridge on both sides. But what that bridge did was it transferred the traffic jam from one crossing to the next. So while this crossing was decongested, the next crossing got the traffic jam. So my point is, I mean, do you feel that this is the big problem that we are facing?
So this is really a problem, and the solution lies in having a strong local governance. You know, city is a very living entity, and very dynamically living also. It goes on expanding. There is no way we can stop migration to cities. The problem is that, you know, the governance of the city is so fragmented. I mentioned earlier that we have got so many authorities, and every city has got at least 4 IAS officers in different, you know, somebody will be development authority head, and somebody will be, collector will be there, and there will be a couple of other positions in Gurgaon itself. So many. So one more, a senior authority is not going to solve the problem. Why not we have a strong mayor who understands the city in all its dimensions? Because line department officers understand their line department work. Somebody, NHAI or some authority, road authority is given task to develop a signature bridge, and they will do a fantastic job, as you said, but they will not understand how it would organically link with the city as a whole, both in terms of mobility as well as side effects of mobility. You know, side effect of mobility means how the city's spread will be impacted. Okay. That will be known by, I do not know why we are not able to have a strong mayor. A world over, You name the city, even if you go to Russia, Moscow mayor, you go to China, the mayor of Beijing or Shanghai, you go to Paris, you go to London, the mayor is so very important that he is next only to the prime minister in that country. That is the significance of mayor. And here in our country, where is the mayor? If people are if any gathering is there, official gathering, do you think that mayor will be sitting next to the highest authority there? No. So therefore, these are the situations. Creating one more layer is going to only confuse the matter further.
Yeah.
We are spending much more money than ever before in cities. 50 years before, the cities were crying for money. Today, many cities have got umpteen resources coming in, but not to the municipal corporation, coming under different routes, and they are not integrating. Neither the governance is integrating, nor the fund flow is integrating, nor the planning procedures are integrating.
In a situation like this, we are going to create extremely confused cities and extremely frustrated citizens. For instance, the heart goes out to the family of that girl, 35-year-old girl who was electrocuted at the New Delhi railway station. She was going to take a train, the Vande Bharat train, to Chandigarh. She was very excited about the Vande Bharat train, brand new train, but she got electrocuted outside the railway station. That is the quality of our urban planning. Do we want cities like this? I think it's a question that all of us have to ask of ourselves.